So you're deep into learning English, right? And, well, if you're like most people, there are days, maybe even weeks, where it feels incredibly slow.
Oh, yeah, like wading through mud sometimes.
Exactly. That feeling, the sheer mountain of things to learn, it can feel, well, overwhelming.
Hmm.
But what if there was one simple, really simple, yet profoundly powerful core idea that could dramatically speed things up?
Okay, listening.
That's precisely what we're diving into today. Our deep dive unpacks the power of consistency in English learning, and we're drawing insights from a really illuminating article and the research behind it.
Sounds good.
Our mission for you is clear. We want you to understand what consistency actually means for language learning, why the experts say it's such a game changer,
Right.
and the common pitfalls that trip learners up, and, most importantly, some practical, actionable steps you can literally start taking today.
And this isn't just like guesswork or someone's opinion. The sources for this deep dive pull from leading thinkers in language acquisition, cognitive science.
So real evidence.
Real evidence-backed stuff, exactly, giving us a look at consistency. And while it sounds straightforward, maybe even a bit boring, its effects are actually deeply transformative.
How so?
Think of it as finding that foundational principle, the thing that can make English feel less like this huge chore
Yeah.
and more, well, just a natural part of your life.
I am ready for that transformation. We're going to uncover how just a few minutes a day, but applied consistently, can build genuine fluency. It's really about debunking those myths, like you have to live abroad or spend a fortune on classes.
Oh, absolutely. Those are persistent ones.
And what's truly empowering here is that this approach, it works for anyone. It doesn't matter if you think you're shy or if you think English is just inherently difficult or where you live.
That accessibility is key.
Okay, so let's unpack a common struggle first. Many of us, when we're learning English, we chase this idea of perfection.
Oh, perfection trap, yes.
Right, perfect grammar, flawless pronunciation, knowing every word. But what usually happens?
Burnout, procrastination.
Exactly. You cram for hours one day, feel totally exhausted the next, and then you wait. You wait until you feel ready to speak.
Which, let's be honest, often means waiting forever.
It really can. Does that sound familiar to you listening?
It probably does for many. But here's the thing, the profound truth the research keeps pointing to. Consistency beats perfection. Every single time.
Every time.
Every time. Language isn't something you conquer by, like, memorizing a rule book once or through these intense random bursts of study.
Okay.
It's acquired through ongoing repetition, constant exposure, and just practice over time.
Yeah.
Think about how a baby learns their first language.
Right, no textbooks there.
Exactly. They don't start with grammar rules.
Yeah.
They listen constantly. They mimic sounds. They make countless mistakes.
Oh, countless.
And then they just try again. Learning English is fundamentally the same kind of process. The goal isn't nailing every single word perfectly right now.
So what is the goal then?
It's about showing up daily, allowing your brain to gradually soak up the rhythm, the sounds, the structure, this consistent, short daily engagement. It's far, far more effective than those long, stressful, infrequent cramming sessions.
That really reframes it, and it directly challenges that belief, oh, if only I lived in London or New York.
The immersion solves everything idea.
Yeah, that feels like the ultimate solution, doesn't it?
It certainly feels like it should be, but it's a common misconception. It's actually quite striking when you look at it.
How so?
Well, there are thousands of people living in English-speaking countries right now who still struggle. Why? Because they aren't consistently engaging with the language day to day.
Oh, interesting. So just being there isn't enough.
Not automatically, no. Meanwhile, you have countless learners who've never left their home country, but they achieve real fluency. How?
Consistency.
Exactly. Because they commit to a little bit of daily practice using tools that are readily available. Podcasts, videos, reading, speaking aloud.
Things anyone can access.
Precisely. So the key takeaway here really is, you don't need to wait for some perfect, ideal situation. You just need to use what you already have and start right where you are.
Okay, so what does that look like? What are those small actions?
Instead of aiming for, perfect grammar on day one or trying to memorize huge lists of obscure words.
Yeah, which is exhausting.
Totally. The research points to things that truly make a difference, like dedicating just 10 minutes to daily listening, actively shadowing maybe just one or two sentences.
We'll get into what shadowing is later.
Oh, yeah, we'll break that down. Or just trying to think English during small, everyday tasks. Writing 2 or 3 simple sentences in a journal about your day.
Really, just 2 or 3?
Even just that. Or re-listening to the same podcast episode maybe 2 or 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
These aren't just random actions. They're tiny, consistent habits.
And habits build on each other.
Exactly. And habits, over time, build fluency. You'd honestly be amazed at the progress you can make from just 15 minutes a day if it's applied consistently.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Fluency isn't like some final exam you pass, and then boom, you're done.
Not at all. It's a skill.
A skill you cultivate and live with day by day. So you can let go of that myth of perfection. Release the pressure to sound like a native speaker right now.
Please do. It's so counterproductive.
Instead, just focus on showing up daily, calmly, consistently, and, confidently. Because in language learning, those small steps, repeated often, they consistently outperform those big, infrequent, monumental efforts.
Well said.
Okay, we keep using that word consistency, but what does it truly mean to live this idea day to day when you're learning English? What does it actually look like in practice?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because a key insight from the research is that consistency isn't just vaguely doing something sometimes.
Right.
It's about regular, deliberate practice,
Yeah.
sustained over time. It means making small, focused efforts, often, ideally every day.
Even on bad days.
Even on those days when you're tired or busy or life just feels chaotic. It's the absolute opposite of cramming.
Okay, so that image of someone pulling an all-nighter trying to learn 8 hours of English before a test.
Exactly. That's precisely what we're not aiming for here. The research, for instance, often cites Dr. Paul Nation's work on vocabulary learning.
Okay.
He emphasizes that language learning is a cumulative process. His findings really underline that frequent, spaced-out practice is what builds those strong memory connections.
Spaced out. Okay.
Yeah, and that leads to automaticity, that kind of magical state where you use the language without consciously thinking about every single word or grammar rule. It just flows.
Cumulative process. I really like that phrase. It paints a picture like building with Lego bricks, maybe, one by one.
That's a perfect analogy. Yeah.
The article also used another one that stuck with me, watering a plant.
Ah, yeah.
So you can't just dump a bucket of water on it once a month and expect it to thrive, right?
Definitely not.
But small, regular watering, maybe like 10 minutes of focused English practice daily that fosters strong, steady growth.
And that ties directly into another really vital concept, spaced repetition.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, cognitive scientists like Dr. Robert Bjork have shown its power extensively. It's the strategy of reviewing material at increasing intervals.
So, like, you learn a word today.
Exactly. You learn it today, maybe review it tomorrow, then again in 3 days, and maybe a week later, and so on. This approach dramatically improves long-term memory retention compared to trying to cram everything at once.
Why does that work better?
Consistent practice, especially with this kind of spacing, basically tells your brain, hey, this information is important, let's keep it accessible. It's like highlighting it for long-term storage.
Okay, so we've got a clearer picture now. Consistency is small, regular, deliberate effort, maybe using things like spaced repetition. But the big question is still, why? Why is this seemingly simple idea so foundational? What actually makes it the secret ingredient to learning English?
That really is the critical question, isn't it? And the research offers some really compelling answers. Consistency is, quite literally, the backbone of effective language learning for several key reasons.
Okay, lay them on me.
First, it powerfully reinforces learning. Every time you consistently interact with English, you're strengthening the neural pathways in your brain for memory.
Like building a path in a forest by walking it often.
Exactly like that. Linguists like Dr. Katerina Kormacheva have shown that regular practice is what moves new language stuff, words, grammar from that fragile, easily forgotten short-term memory into robust, accessible, long-term memory. It's about physically etching that knowledge into your brain, making it stick.
So it fights that frustrating feeling of, oh, I know I learned that word last week. Where did it go?
Precisely. It's the antidote to that.
Yeah.
Second, and this is a huge psychological boost, consistency builds confidence.
Ah, confidence. That's huge.
It really is. Every small win, using a new phrase correctly, understanding a little more of a podcast, finishing a short exercise, it chips away at that feeling of being overwhelmed.
Yeah, that feeling can be paralyzing.
Totally. You just become more comfortable with the language itself. Its sounds, its grammar, its feel.
And confidence is absolutely vital, isn't it? It can make or break whether you even try to speak.
It's crucial. Think about Dr. Stephen Krashen's effective filter hypothesis.
Okay.
Basically, anxiety,
Yeah.
self-consciousness.
Hmm.
They can act like a mental filter, literally blocking your brain from taking in language input effectively.
Wow. So being stressed actually stops you learning.
It can significantly hinder it. Consistent, manageable practice, though. It lowers this filter. You feel more capable, less afraid of mistakes, and your brain becomes much more open to actually learning. It's as much about your mental state as the grammar rules.
That's a really powerful point. It's not just about the what, but the how you feel while learning.
It truly is. Third reason, consistency is the engine of habit formation.
Okay. Makes sense.
Charles Duhigg, in The Power of Habit, talks about the cue routine reward loop. If you consistently link your English practice, that's the routine, to something you already do every day, like your morning coffee, the cue, and the reward is feeling good about learning, or just ticking it off your list,
Yeah.
you build this incredibly powerful, almost automatic habit.
So it stops feeling like a chore you have to force yourself to do.
Ideally, yes. Eventually, it just happens, like brushing your teeth. You don't really debate it, you just do it.
Nice. What else?
And finally, consistency itself fuels motivation. Those small daily steps forward, understanding a bit more of a song, having a slightly longer chat, they provide real, tangible proof that you are improving.
Seeing progress keeps you going.
Absolutely. Dr. Angela Duckworth's research on grit highlights this. Persistence through consistent effort and actually seeing those small gains is often a way better predictor of long-term success than just raw talent.
Okay, wow. The why is crystal clear now. It reinforces memory, builds confidence, creates habits, fuels motivation. It covers so much.
It really does underpin the whole process.
So if it's that good, why do so many of us still struggle to stay consistent? What are those common roadblocks the research points out? Where do people usually get tripped up?
Ah, yes, this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Where theory meets the reality of daily life. One major trap the sources always emphasize is starting too big.
Too ambitious at the beginning.
Exactly. Learners often feel this pressure like, I must study for hours every single day. And, well, predictably, they burn out incredibly fast, sometimes within weeks or even just days.
Yeah, I've definitely done that. Go hard for a week, then nothing for a month.
It's so common. It's like trying to sprint up the entire mountain in one go instead of just focusing on the path right in front of you. And this actually ties into cognitive load theory.
How so?
If you try to cram too much completely new information into your brain's working memory all at once, it just gets overloaded. It's like trying to pour a whole bucket of water into a tiny cup.
It just spills over.
Exactly. Your brain literally can't process it properly to store it effectively long term. So aiming for these huge initial study blocks isn't just ambitious, it's often actually counterproductive for learning.
Okay, so respect the brain's limits. Don't try to cram. What else trips people up?
Another big one is expecting results too quickly. Language learning is fundamentally a marathon, not a sprint.
Patience is key.
Absolutely. Dr. Rod Ellis, who's a major figure in second language acquisition, stresses that fluency develops gradually. It happens through consistent, repeated exposure and practice over a long period.
So thinking you'll be fluent in a month is unrealistic.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
And if you have those unrealistic expectations, you're essentially setting yourself up for disappointment. And disappointment is a massive motivation killer.
Yeah, if you feel like you're failing, you're less likely to keep trying.
Precisely. The antidote, according to the research, is setting small, genuinely achievable goals and celebrate the tiny wins. Maybe your first victory is just sticking to 15 minutes of practice every day for 1 week. That's huge.
Okay. And what's the third common trap?
A sheer lack of structure, no clear plan. If you don't decide when or how, you'll practice like linking it to a specific time or activity.
It just doesn't happen.
It becomes random, sporadic, hit or miss. And that kind of inconsistent effort makes building a real, lasting habit almost impossible. Experts like Dr. Nation suggest just building a simple routine, linking your English practice to something specific you already do anyway.
Okay, so the main traps. Starting too big, expecting results too fast, and having no structure or plan. That all makes perfect sense. Now, knowing the why and the what not to do, how do we actually do it? How do we build that consistency muscle? What are the practical strategies?
Right, the actionable steps. This is where the science translates into really practical advice. First strategy, and it echoes that first pitfall. Start small.
How small?
Seriously small. Tiny, even. Dr. B.J. Fogg talks about tiny habits. Aim for just 5 or 10 minutes a day initially. Listen to one short English podcast segment on your commute. Read one news headline in English.
Okay.
The goal is to lower that initial barrier so much that starting becomes ridiculously easy, almost automatic.
Think it's so easy you can't say no.
Yeah.
I like that.
Exactly. Second, create a routine. This builds directly on those habit formation principles we talked about. Link your English practice to something you already do every single day.
Like habit stacking.
Precisely. James Clear, in Atomic Habits, calls it habit stacking. Maybe you listen to an English song while you make breakfast every morning, or you review 5 flashcards right after lunch. This integrates the practice into your day, making it feel less like this huge extra thing you have to add.
Okay, seamless integration. Makes sense.
Third strategy, use varied methods. Don't just do the same grammar worksheet every single day. That's a recipe for boredom.
Definitely. Boredom kills consistency.
It really does. The research emphasizes mixing it up. Bring in listening, reading, some speaking practice, maybe writing a little, using different apps, watching videos, maybe finding someone to chat with online. Dr. Ellis's work supports that this engaging with the language in diverse ways is not only more effective, but also keeps things genuinely interesting.
Variety keeps it fresh. Got it. What's next?
Fourth, set specific, manageable goals. Instead of a vague goal like, get better at English.
Which means what exactly?
Right. It's too fuzzy. Aim for concrete, measurable objectives. Like, this week I will learn 5 new words related to food. Or, I will try to describe my day in English for 3 minutes each evening.
Okay, specific and actionable.
Yes. And Dr. Nation's research points out the value of focusing on high-frequency words, first, the words used most often, because they give you the biggest immediate impact in understanding and speaking. Specific goals let you clearly see your progress.
And seeing that progress is motivating, which leads perfectly to the 5th strategy.
Track your progress. Use a simple notebook, maybe a habit tracking app, or even just put check marks on a calendar. Seeing that streak build up, seeing the days you've shown up, it really fosters that growth mindset Dr. Duckworth talks about.
Like getting gold stars.
Kind of. It's tangible proof of your effort and your progress. It feels good.
Yeah, that visual streak is powerful. What else?
Sixth, consider finding a community or an accountability partner. This could be joining an online language group, finding a language exchange buddy, or even just telling a friend who's also learning about your goals.
Having someone else involved.
Exactly. Dr. Kormasheva notes that social connection as a kind of gentle, supportive pressure. It makes the journey feel less lonely, more like a shared thing.
Okay, and the last one.
And finally, maybe the most crucial one for the long haul. Be kind to yourself.
Ah, self-compassion.
Yes. You will miss a day, or maybe even 2. Life happens. The research really stresses that this is not failure. Remember Dr. Krashen's advice. Focus on progress, not perfection. If you miss Monday, just pick it back up on Tuesday.
Don't let one slip derail everything.
Exactly. Don't let guilt over one missed day spiral into a missed week. Consistency isn't about being flawless. It's about persistence, even when things aren't perfect.
That feels incredibly important, giving ourselves permission to be human, especially when learning something challenging like a language. So can we dig a bit deeper now into why these small, consistent bits work so incredibly well, like on a brain level? The article touched on the science behind it.
Oh yeah, this is the really fascinating part. What's actually happening inside our heads when we do this? The core concept is neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity, okay.
That's your brain's amazing, lifelong ability to literally rewire itself. It forms new connections and strengthens existing ones based on your experiences.
So our brains aren't fixed?
Not at all. When you consistently expose yourself to English, even in these small, manageable doses, you are actively reinforcing the neural pathways your brain uses for English sounds, for its grammar, for its vocabulary.
You're building English highways in your brain.
That's a great way to put it.
Hmm.
Think of Dr. Patricia Kuhl's work on how babies learn language. Consistent exposure literally sculpts their brains to process the sounds of their native language. It's similar for adults learning a language. You're making your brain more efficient at handling English.
Wow. So showing up daily, even for just a few minutes, is quite literally reshaping our brains. That's kind of profound.
In essence, yes. You're actively building and strengthening those language-specific networks. And it also powerfully leverages the spacing effect we mentioned earlier.
Right, reviewing at intervals.
Yeah, research by people like Dr. Herman Ebbinghaus and later Dr. Bjork showed learning isn't just about cramming stuff in. It's crucial to give your brain time to process and consolidate that information properly.
Like letting concrete set.
Sort of.
Huh?
Spacing out your practice gives your brain the downtime it needs to file things away effectively. This makes the information significantly easier to retrieve later compared to trying to learn it all in one massive session.
So these strategies, they aren't just good ideas, they're rooted in how our brains actually learn best.
Exactly. They're about applying what cognitive science tells us directly to your daily learning routine. And the payoff. It's clear in the real-life examples the sources share. We'll take Maria, for instance. She felt completely overwhelmed by English, just totally stuck. But she started consistently listening to just 10 minutes of English podcasts every single day.
Just 10 minutes and
She saw remarkable improvement, not just in her understanding, but her overall confidence went way up.
just from 10 minutes a day. That really hammers home the consistency over intensity idea.
It absolutely does. And then there was Ahmed, a busy professional, packed schedule. He committed to just 15 minutes of focused practice daily, squeezed it in, and within a year, he passed a major English exam,
Wow.
which opened up significant new career opportunities for him. These aren't just abstract theories. These are tangible, real-world results from applying this one fundamental principle, consistency.
Okay, let's talk about habit #1 then. Daily listening practice. When it comes to really improving your English fluency, daily listening feels like the foundation, doesn't it?
It absolutely is the bedrock. It's how infants first start grasping language, right? It's
Yep.
how your brain begins to recognize the patterns, the rhythm, the pronunciation, even before you try to say much yourself.
And the best part, you can start doing this right now, today, probably without even needing to find extra time.
Exactly. Now, it's helpful to distinguish between two main types of listening, passive and active.
Okay, what's the difference?
Passive listening is when English is just kind of playing in the background while your main focus is somewhere else. Maybe you have a podcast on while you're doing dishes, or music playing while driving, or English YouTube videos on while folding laundry.
So you're not like intensely studying it.
Right. You're not actively trying to understand every single word. You're just immersing your ears in the sound of English. Now, this might not feel like traditional study, but it's incredibly powerful
Why is that?
because your brain is subtly soaking in the natural rhythm, the intonation, the speed of English. Over time, you start to recognize words and phrases automatically, almost unconsciously.
Interesting. So what's active listening then?
Active listening is when you consciously dedicate your full attention. You're really focusing. This might involve things like repeating phrases, which we'll talk about as shadowing soon,
Okay.
or pausing and rewinding to understand something better, maybe noting down new words, or even trying to summarize what you just heard.
So more focused effort.
Exactly. And both types are crucial. Combining passive and active listening throughout your day really strengthens your practice. Think about how much time you already spend listening to something, music, news, whatever.
Yeah, probably quite a lot.
Now imagine if just a portion of that time was in English. You don't need to disrupt your whole life. Just replace some of your usual listening with English.
Like swapping my usual podcast for an English one on the commute.
Perfect example. Or change your phone's assistant voice or your GPS navigation to English. Put on slow English audiobooks while you're winding down for sleep. The guiding principle here again is consistency, not perfection. Even 10-15 minutes of passive listening each day adds up and can lead to remarkable improvements over time.
Okay, so where can people find good listening material? Especially for free.
Fortunately, there are tons of options now. For podcasts, you could try things like, well, English Unleashed, ESL Pod, Voice of America, Learning English, All Ears English.
Yep.
There are many designed for learners.
And they're usually on Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, all the major platforms. And most podcast apps let you control the playback speed, which is super helpful. On YouTube, just search for beginner-friendly English videos or channels that teach through natural conversation. Channels like Speak English with Mr. Duncan, BBC Learning English, Speak English Daily are popular.
What about music or books?
For music, you can use lyrics training websites or karaoke apps. You listen and read the lyrics, which is great. For audiobooks, apps like Audible have huge libraries. Or LibriVox offers free audiobooks of classics, often read clearly. Starting with children's stories can be a really good way, and simpler vocabulary, clear narration.
And apps.
Oh yeah, language learning apps like LingQ let you read and listen simultaneously. Duolingo has stories. Language Reactor is a browser extension for Netflix and YouTube that adds dual subtitles and other tools. Lots of choices.
So how do you make this a solid habit?
One of the best ways is to link listening to physical activity or routine tasks. Your brain is often more relaxed and receptive then.
Like listening while walking the dog.
Exactly. Or exercising, commuting on the bus or train, tidying up the house, cooking dinner, even showering if you have a waterproof speaker. Pairing a podcast with something you already do helps it become ingrained. You might even start looking forward to that little pocket of English immersion.
That makes sense. Here's a simple tip then. Maybe create a listening playlist. Your favorite English podcasts, videos, songs. Make it part of your morning routine, maybe while you have coffee. Or use it to unwind in the evening. Even just 5 minutes builds that momentum.
That's a great idea. So to wrap up on listening, it's genuinely one of the easiest habits to start and one of the most impactful for fluency. Don't stress about understanding every single word. Don't wait for the perfect quiet moment. Just press play. You're training your ears. You're preparing yourself to speak. Every minute you listen, you are getting better.
Okay, habit, #2, the shadowing technique. Now, you mentioned this earlier. If there's one practice that can really transform speaking fluency, shadowing seems to be it.
It's incredibly powerful, simple, free, and it trains your brain, your ears, and your mouth all at the same time to work together, kind of mirroring how a native speaker sounds.
So what exactly is shadowing? How does it work?
Shadowing is basically listening to spoken English and immediately repeating what you hear out loud. The main goal is to match the speaker's tone, their speed, their rhythm as closely as you possibly can, almost like you're their shadow or an echo.
So you don't wait for them to finish the sentence?
No, you try to speak with them or just fractionally behind them. For example, if you hear, "I want to speak English fluently," you immediately say, "I want to speak English fluently," trying to copy the exact sound and flow.
Okay, I can see how that might feel a bit weird at first.
Oh, it definitely feels strange initially. But your mouth muscles and your ears adapt surprisingly quickly to the natural cadence, the music of English.
So why is it so powerful? Why not just repeat sentences after they finish?
That's helpful too, but shadowing does something unique. Most learners focus a lot on reading and writing right. But fluent speaking needs specific practice with actually producing the sounds. Shadowing directly targets this. Well, it boosts your pronunciation because you're actively mimicking native speakers. It improves your rhythm and stress patterns, making you sound much more natural. It sharpens your listening skills, especially for understanding speech at real-life speeds. It builds muscle memory in your mouth for making English sounds. And, crucially, it increases your confidence to actually speak aloud.
And you said it works even if you don't understand everything.
Yeah, that's a key point. Even if you miss the meaning of some words, you're still training your brain and mouth to produce the sounds and structures of English. You're getting the yield for it.
Okay, I'm sold on the why. How do you actually do it? Give us the step-by-step.
Right. Step 1, choose the right audio, especially for beginners. Pick something short, like 30 seconds to a minute of a podcast or video clip. Look for clear pronunciation, short, natural sentences, and maybe a slightly slower pace. Or just use the playback speed control on your player. Set it to 0.75x maybe.
Any recommendations for sources?
Yeah, things like English Unleashed, VOA Learning English, or even short stories on YouTube can be great starting points. Step 2, first listen. Just play the clip once through. Don't try to repeat yet. Just focus on the overall meaning and the speaker's tone. No pausing, no notes.
Okay, just get the gist.
Exactly. Step 3, second listen, but sentence by sentence. Play the first sentence or short phrase. Pause the audio, and then repeat it out loud. Really try to copy the tone, match the speed, focus hard on the pronunciation. Don't worry about perfect grammar here. Repeat that same sentence 2 or 3 times if you need to, then do the next sentence, and so on.
So listen, pause, repeat. Got it.
Step 4. Now the real-time shadow. Play the same clip again from the beginning, but this time try to speak along with the speaker without pausing. Just echo them in real time.
What if I fall behind or mess up?
It's totally okay. That will happen, especially at first. The goal here is building fluency through continuous speaking, not instant perfection. Just keep going as best you can.
Okay, persistence. And step 5.
Step 5 is optional, but I highly recommend it. Record and reflect. Use your phone to record yourself shadowing the clip. Then listen back to your recording. Ask yourself, how close was my pronunciation? Did I match the rhythm, the emotion? Where did I struggle? This self-awareness is gold for speeding up your improvement.
That makes sense. Could you give us an example of a daily routine using this?
Sure. A simple 10 to 15-minute daily session could look like this. Pick your clip, maybe 1-2 minutes long. Listen to it fully once. That's about 2 minutes. Then shadow it sentence by sentence, maybe 5 minutes. Then shadow the whole clip in real time, about 3 minutes. Optionally, record and replay yourself, another 3 minutes.
And you mentioned repeating the same clip.
Yeah. Definitely stick with the same clip for maybe 2 or 3 days before moving to a new one. That repetition really builds confidence and mastery of those specific sounds and phrases. And you can fit this in easily while walking, during a coffee break before bed or first thing in the morning.
What if someone doesn't have audio ready right now? Can we practice with some examples?
Absolutely. Let's try a few. I'll say a sentence, and you listening can try repeating it right after me, focusing on the sound and rhythm. Ready?
Ready.
I want to speak English fluently.
Pause.
I want to speak English fluently.
Good. Try again, maybe a bit faster. I want to speak English fluently.
Pause.
It makes faster. I want to speak English fluently.
Nice. Let's try another. Shadowing helps me speak better.
Pause. Mimics. Shadowing helps me speak better.
Even 5 minutes a day can help.
Mimics. Even 5 minutes a day can help.
My English is getting better.
Pause. My English is getting better.
I'm not perfect, but I keep trying. Pause.
I'm not perfect, but I keep trying.
Step by step, I feel more confident.
Pause. Step by step, I feel more confident.
Great. Now imagine saying all those together, smoothly, like a little speech. That's the kind of flow shadowing helps you build.
It really does feel awkward at first, though. Like you said, talking to yourself in an empty room.
It absolutely can. But trust the process. You are actively building real fluency, one sentence at a time. Even just 5 minutes of consistent shadowing daily will improve your clarity, help you understand native speakers better, and build that essential confidence to speak in real life. Find a quiet spot, press play, and start echoing. Remember the mantra, shadow first, correct later. Fluency comes from repetition, not perfection.
Okay, moving on to habit, #3. Think in English. Now, if you've ever been in a conversation and you pause, trying desperately to translate a sentence in your head, you know that frustration.
Oh, that internal translation bottleneck, yeah.
You understand the words, maybe, but there's this delay. And that hesitation, it can make you feel stuck, maybe even insecure about speaking.
Exactly, and that delay happens because your brain is trying to juggle 2 languages at once. Translation just slows you down. Think about it. Your brain has to process the meaning in your first language, then search for the English words, then mentally rearrange the grammar and sentence structure.
So many steps.
Right. And only then can you actually say it out loud. That multi-step process eats up precious time. In a fast conversation, that delay feels huge and can be really stressful.
So what's the alternative?
Thinking directly in English. When you cultivate that habit, you naturally respond faster. You tend to make fewer grammar mistakes because you're not mentally translating structures that might not align perfectly. Your speech sounds more natural, more fluid, and maybe most importantly, you feel a massive boost in confidence. Thinking directly in English is the pathway to less stressful, more fluent speech.
But how do you even start doing that? Especially if you're a beginner, it sounds hard.
You don't need advanced English to start. You just need to begin simply. Step 1 is to embrace mini thoughts.
Many thoughts.
Yeah, start with short, simple phrases, just like kids do when they first learn to talk.
Yeah.
Things like, it's morning, I'm hungry, I have to go to work, that's funny, it's raining, I like this song. Just mentally narrate these simple thoughts as you go about your day.
What if you don't know a word?
Just skip it, or use the words you do know. Instead of thinking, I'm feeling quite frustrated because of this unexpected traffic congestion, just think, traffic is bad, I'm tired. Keep it simple. Keep it real.
Okay, many thoughts. What's step 2?
Step 2, use your environment. Look around you. Consciously name what you see or what you're doing, but in English.
Like,
This is my phone. I'm brushing my teeth. The water is cold. Now I'm opening the window. I see a red car. This naturally builds your vocabulary and, crucially, trains your brain to link English words directly to real-world things and actions instead of going through the translation step from your native language.
connecting English to reality. Got it. Step 3.
Step 3, talk to yourself. Quietly, of course, or just in your head. Whisper your thoughts while you're doing routine tasks.
Like narrating your actions.
Exactly. Let me wash these dishes. Okay, I need to send that email now. After lunch, I think I'll go for a walk. You can do this while walking, cooking, getting ready. Think of it as creating your own daily English inner dialogue.
So these tiny thoughts, they become the building blocks.
Precisely. They gradually build up. Think about practicing during your morning routine. Wake up, need coffee. While walking or commuting, see a dog. Bus is late at work. Start with email. This is interesting. Before sleeping, I'm tired. Good day today.
Okay, I can see how that could build up. Can you give us a challenge, something concrete to try?
Sure. Here's a simple challenge. For the next 3 days, try to narrate parts of your day in English, either silently in your head or in a soft whisper. Aim for just 5-10 simple sentences during different moments, maybe when you wake up, when you're working, eating, relaxing.
Like a sequence.
Yeah, like, it's 7 a.m. Getting out of bed, feel sleepy, go to bathroom, water is cold, make coffee, smells good, check phone, open YouTube, listen to English. Something like that. If you don't know how to say something, just simplify it or skip it. The main goal here isn't perfect grammar. It's training your brain to start living in English, even for small moments.
Thinking in English, it really does feel like one of the most vital fluency habits, and it's completely free.
It really is. By making this a daily practice, you consciously start breaking that reliance on translation. You gain confidence in expressing yourself directly, and your spoken English will naturally start to sound more fluid and authentic. Start with those small, simple thoughts. Cultivate that English inner voice, and just watch how your fluency becomes easier, faster, and more automatic over time.
All right, let's move to habit #4. Speak aloud daily. You've mentioned this a few times. It seems like one of the most powerful ways to really improve fluency, especially if you're learning mostly on your own.
It's incredibly simple, totally free, and it just plain works.
Hmm.
But it's something many learners neglect.
How so?
They might spend hours reading silently or listening to podcasts, which is great for input, but they rarely, if ever, actually speak anything out loud.
Right. It's like training for a marathon only by watching videos of running.
Exactly. If your goal is to speak English fluently, you absolutely have to get your mouth moving, train your speaking muscles consistently, day in, day out.
So why does reading aloud work so well? What's happening?
Reading aloud does more than just process words silently. It powerfully connects your brain, which is thinking in English, your ears, hearing your own voice producing English sounds, and your mouth, physically making the sounds, practicing pronunciation and rhythm.
The whole system is engaged.
The whole system. This holistic approach boosts your memory, refines your pronunciation, builds fluency and confidence, and crucially, helps you get comfortable with the sound of your own voice speaking English. You start to feel the natural flow rather than just analyzing rules.
And you said even just a few minutes helps.
Even just 5 to 10 minutes a day of reading aloud can make a profound difference over time.
Okay, so what should people read aloud? Does it have to be complicated stuff?
No, definitely not. In fact, for beginners, simpler is usually better. Excellent options are short stories written for English learners, transcripts from podcasts or videos you've already listened to.
So you know the context.
Exactly. Children's books are fantastic, simple language, often repetitive, dialogue scenes from movies or TV shows you like, or even your own personal journal entries if you're doing habit #5. If you don't have anything handy, you can always use a simple practice script, like the one we'll share.
And you don't need a partner or teacher for this. You can do it solo.
Absolutely solo. Here are a few tips for practicing on your own. First, try using a mirror. Look at yourself speak. It sounds weird, but it really helps with clarity and boosts confidence seeing yourself produce the language.
Okay, mirror practice. What else?
Second, go slow, then speed up. Start by reading the text slowly and very clearly. Then read the same text again, but a little faster, more naturally. Finally, try reading it with real emotion and rhythm, like you're an actor delivering lines.
Getting the feel for it.
Exactly. Third, repeat phrases. Pick a sentence you like or one you find tricky and just repeat it out loud 3 to 5 times. Each time, try to improve the tone or the pronunciation or the speed. Drill it a little.
Okay, and the last tip.
Fourth, record yourself. Use the voice recorder on your phone. It's easy. Then listen back. Be objective. Notice what sounds good. And also, notice areas where you could improve. This self-awareness is invaluable for making quick progress.
Okay, can you give us one of those practice scripts, something beginner-friendly we can try right now?
Sure thing. I'll read it, and you listening can try repeating after me or reading along. Ready?
Yep.
Good morning. I'm feeling a little tired, but I'm ready for the day. Pause. I drink some water and eat breakfast. Pause. Today, I want to learn something new. Pause. I listen to my favorite English podcast. Pause. The speaker talks slowly and clearly. Pause. I repeat the sentences out loud. Pause. I make a few mistakes, but that's okay. Pause. Every day I get a little better. Pause. I believe in myself. Pause. Step by step, I will speak English fluently.
Nice. Simple, positive.
Exactly. Now try reading that whole thing yourself maybe 2 or 3 times. First, slow and super clear. Then, at a more natural talking speed. And finally, try it with some feeling, some rhythm, like you mean it. For extra practice, try writing down your own daily routine in simple English and read that aloud too.
So how do you make this a habit?
Treat it like a simple daily ritual, just like brushing your teeth. Choose a short text, maybe just takes 1-3 minutes to read. Read it aloud once slowly. Read it again with more flow. Read it a third time with expression. Actually, record yourself. Done. Fit it into your morning routine, your coffee break right before bed, whenever works.
Reading aloud, it really is simple, but feels like it could have a huge impact, connecting mind, voice, ears, bringing English to life.
It really does. So please, don't let worries about making mistakes hold you back. Don't wait until you magically feel ready. Start speaking out loud today. Commit to doing it every single day. The more your mouth physically practices making English sounds, the more natural and effortless your speech will become.
Excellent. Now for the final habit. Habit, #5. Write and reflect in English. We've talked a lot about listening and speaking, but writing, it plays a powerful role too, doesn't it? Often underestimated.
Definitely underestimated. Writing helps you organize your thoughts directly in English. It gives you space to practice more complex sentence structures without the pressure of real-time conversation. It clearly shows you where your vocabulary gaps are. And, crucially, it helps you reflect on what you're learning.
So it's not just about becoming a better writer.
Not at all. Even short, consistent daily writing can significantly sharpen your overall fluency, build confidence, and surprisingly, even improve your speaking skills, especially when you combine it with reflection.
How can people start incorporating this easily?
One of the easiest and most effective ways is to keep a simple, daily English diary. And let's be clear, this isn't about writing perfect essays or stressing over grammar.
Okay, low pressure.
Very low pressure. It's simply about using English, however simple, to express yourself on paper or digitally every single day. Use a physical notebook, a notes app on your phone, a private blog, even a voice memo app if typing isn't your thing. The goal is consistency, not perfection.
What if people feel overwhelmed by the idea of writing every day?
Great point. For busy learners or those just starting out, I highly recommend the 3-sentence rule.
The 3-sentence rule.
Commit to writing just 3 simple sentences each day. That's it. For example, today I woke up late. Listen to English podcasts while walking. Feel more confident speaking now.
That's it.
That's it. You don't need fancy words or detailed explanations. Just focus on maybe what you did, how you felt, or something new you learned or noticed. Maybe learned new word today, consistent, or made mistake speaking, but tried again. This practice is powerful because it consistently connects English directly to your real daily life.
Okay, 3 sentences feels very achievable. What about that voice memo idea you mentioned?
Ah, yes, voice journaling. This is great if you want to focus more on speaking fluency, too. Instead of writing, you speak your entry. Each evening, maybe just open your phone's recorder, press record, and talk for 1 minute about your day.
What might that sound like?
Something simple like, "Hi, today was busy, worked all morning, took a walk afternoon, listened to English episode, repeated some sentences, felt good, want to keep going tomorrow."
How does that help differently than writing?
It helps you get more comfortable thinking and speaking spontaneously in English. It lets you hear your own pronunciation and grammar patterns. It builds confident speaking without any audience pressure. And it gives you a really tangible way to track your speaking progress over time. Remember, it's just for you.
And tracking progress is key for motivation, right?
Absolutely. One of the biggest boosts comes from actually seeing or hearing your own improvement. Here are 3 ways to do that with writing or voice journaling. First, periodically reread old diary entries. After a few weeks, go back. Notice how your sentences are better, your thoughts clearer. You'll have that aha moment. Wow, I express myself way better now than last month.
Okay, comparing past and present.
Second, listen to your old voice recordings. Compare your first 1-minute memo to a recent one. Do you sound more natural? Fewer pauses. Using more expressions. Even small changes are proof of real growth. Third, keep a simple progress log. Maybe once a week, just jot down 1 new word learned, 1 sentence you felt proud of writing saying, and 1 specific thing you want to improve next week. This reflection keeps you aware and motivated.
What if you sit down to write or record and your mind just goes blank?
Happens to everyone. Use simple prompts to get started. Things like, "Today I," or "One thing I learned is," or "I feel because," maybe "Tomorrow I want to," or even just "A word I heard today is." These just open the door, making it easy and stress-free to start your daily practice.
So, bottom line, you don't need to be aiming for professional writing skills here.
Not at all. It's about practical daily use. Just show up. Write those 2-3 sentences or speak for that 1 minute. This habit helps you consolidate your thoughts in English, clearly see your growth, stay motivated, and really weave English into the fabric of your daily life. Remember, fluency isn't just about speaking fast, it's about expressing yourself clearly and confidently. Writing and reflection help build that core ability, one day at a time.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground five powerful habits rooted in consistency. If you've stayed with us this far, seriously, congratulations.
Absolutely. You're already demonstrating that crucial element. Commitment, just showing up.
So let's bring it all together with some final tips and encouragement.
Yes. Firstly, and maybe most importantly, be truly kind to yourself. Learning a language is rarely a straight line upwards. Some days you'll feel like you're flying. Other days you might feel stuck, frustrated. That is completely normal.
It's not failure, it's just part of the process.
Exactly. Fluency isn't about achieving perfection. It's about consistent, incremental progress. Those small steps repeated daily. So please, try to avoid comparing your English journey to anyone else's. Don't wait until you feel ready before you speak or try things. And fundamentally, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're learning something complex and new that takes courage.
And speaking of mistakes,
They are not flaws. They are an absolutely essential part of learning. Every fluent speaker you admire has made thousands, probably tens of thousands, of mistakes along the way.
that's comforting, actually.
It should be. Mistakes aren't failures. They're powerful signs of effort. They show you're actually using the language, testing its limits, trying it out. So instead of shrinking from them, try to embrace them. After a mistake, just ask yourself, okay, what was I trying to say? How could I phrase that differently next time?
Yeah.
What did I learn from that? With that mindset, every single mistake becomes a stepping stone.
Learning opportunities, not roadblocks.
Precisely. Also, remember the power of combining these habits. We've explored 5 simple but powerful habits today: daily listening, shadowing, thinking in English, speaking aloud, and writing reflecting.
Each one is good, but together.
Together, they form a really robust daily fluency system. You don't have to do all 5 every single day, but mixing them is key. For example, a sample 30-minute practice routine could look like 10 minutes of listening to a podcast, maybe while walking, then 5 minutes shadowing a short segment from that podcast, then 5 minutes just speaking aloud, maybe narrating your day or talking about a simple topic, then write your quick 3-sentence diary entry, and maybe end with a 1-minute voice journal reflection.
That feels manageable, fitting those bits in.
Totally. Mix and match them throughout your week based on your time and energy. The absolute key is just stay consistent, stay curious, and try to keep it genuinely enjoyable. Find things you actually like listening to or reading.
Okay, so let's recap the big takeaways for everyone listening. Fluency doesn't require moving abroad or spending hours in intense study every day.
Nope. Small, smart, consistent habits are way more powerful than infrequent cramming.
Actively speaking aloud, practicing shadowing, intentionally thinking in English, these make a real, tangible difference.
Huge difference. And consistent reflection and writing really help cement your learning and keep you motivated.
And finally, progress takes time. Be patient, but every single day, every consistent effort genuinely counts. It adds up.
It absolutely adds up.
So here's your clear, direct call to action. Choose just one habit from our deep dive today, just one, and commit to starting it today.
Yes, just start. Remember, your English doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful and effective. You absolutely do not need to sound exactly like a native speaker to communicate with confidence and clarity. If you simply show up every single day, even if it's just for 10 minutes, you will improve. That's the guarantee of consistency.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If consistency is so fundamental not just for language, but for learning almost any complex skill, music, sports, coding, anything, what does that reveal about the simple yet incredibly profound power of just showing up day after day, even in really small ways?
And building on that,
Yeah.
how does truly understanding the science behind it, knowing about neuroplasticity, the spacing effect, how does that change how you might approach challenges? Not just in learning English, but maybe any significant goal you want to achieve in your life. It leaves us, and you, with a compelling question. What small, consistent step are you going to commit to starting today?